One on TNT each Wednesday throughout April following AEW All Elite Wrestling Dynamite. One championship MMA fighters, some you're familiar with, and others you will become familiar with, fans of. See what the East, the Far East, has been talking about now in the West with one championship, one on TNT. Thank you, CEO, founder, chairman, Chatri Sityodtong. Thank you so much, Chatri. Hey, tell us about one on TNT. Big, exciting time coming up.
No, absolutely. This is, a long time coming for the partnership between Turner Sports and One Championship. And this is going to be the first time where, on primetime, live on TNT, right after AEW, for the entire US to watch. So US fans are in for a real treat with our unique brand of martial arts, completely different from anything that exists in the States right now. And we're excited. You're going to see a lot of action, a lot of KOs, a lot of submissions, full of fun fights, and obviously world title fights as well.
And what do you like about One Championship MMA? Because you're saying it is different from what we're seeing out there. UFC, Bellator, really good organizations. There's more, PFL, just on and on. But One Championship does offer something different.
Definitely. Well, I mean, if you look here in Asia, the martial arts that dominate are striking arts. So whether it's Kung Fu in China, Karate in Japan, Sanda, Muay Thai in Thailand, Silat in Indonesia. And so what you see is a much higher knockout percentage, a much higher finish rate in One Championship than you do see in the other global organizations. We are trending around 70 to 75% finish rates versus the other organizations at about 40% finish rate. And in the West, you see a lot of wrestling-based moves where people, go for a double leg and lay and pray. And so it's not as exciting. That's number one. But at the same time, you're also going to see some of the world's greatest martial artists in action, whether it's Demetrius Johnson, who is widely regarded by the GOAT, people like GSP, people like John Jones and all the other Western stars, often quote DJ as the GOAT. Obviously a 12-time world champion from the UFC. He's really struggled in One Championship, and now he finally gets his first title shot, his crack at the world title against Adriano Moraes. People have written off Adriano, but people don't realize, for me, this is a 50-50 fight. Adriano is very big for the weight class. He's 5'9", 5'10", very long and very lanky. So he's a very difficult athlete. He's also a jiu-jitsu black belt, but his striking is very unorthodox. His footwork is very unorthodox. He can fight southpaw or orthodox, and it's just a very unique, weird style. But I think the length and the height is what's going to give DJ a lot of difficulties.
That's going to be a huge event. I'm glad you brought that up because, first of all, it'll be April 7th, which will be the debut, and that's going to be your main event. And to have someone like Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson on board gives us fans in the United States, in North America, something that we're familiar with. But I'll say this about Adriano, your champion. He's an American top team guy right here in South Florida. He's trained here. Not many people here know of him. He's a huge deal. He's a big deal. We all know Mighty Mouse because of what he did for UFC. But as you said, hey, everybody, look, don't overlook Adriano and the type of fighter he is and the skills he has. And that's what I think, too, is so important.
You can ask anybody at American Top Team, and they will tell you Adriano is an absolute beast. He trains every day with UFC and Bellator fighters, and he's an absolute monster. The thing is, for flyweight, he's just a huge guy. He's just he has very skinny legs, and he's a very tall frame, very long and lanky. And he's just a very long and lanky guy. So it's going to pose a lot of problems to DJ. And the thing is that DJ, I had dinner with DJ in Singapore a few months ago when we were shooting The Apprentice, and he admitted that the toughest fights of his entire career have been in One Championship. He never got touched up at all when he was in the UFC. And in One Championship, he got a black eye, a big mouse on his eye. He almost got finished. His back got taken. It's a different breed of martial artist out here. especially in the striking department. When you talk about world-class strikers, they're all in one championship. It's just because, again, Asia has a 5,000-year history of striking arts. So a lot of the athletes, they started striking when they're 3 years old, 5 years old. And it's just part of the organic system of society. So it's a very different level of striking. And I think that's what American fans are in for a big treat. You know, a lot of the other organizations, let's say in America, the athletes might have been doing wrestling for 10 years, 15 years, and striking for 3 or 5 years. So it's a very different MMA game. At the same time, you know, one championship is the home of martial arts. So we showcase not just MMA, we showcase Muay Thai, boxing, submission grappling, jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing. And so the American fans are in for a real treat. Even on TNT, our very first show on April 7th, you're going to see 2 mixed martial arts bouts live on TNT, as well as one Muay Thai bout with one of the greatest, I'd say he's definitely one of the hottest strikers on the planet right now. He's like a mini Mike Tyson. And I'm telling you, American fans are in for a big, big treat.
Well, tell us, who is that?
Rodtang. Rodtang is gonna, you know, you can Google him, you can YouTube his fights. You know, there's nothing like Muay Thai in 4-ounce gloves that really gets the imagination going. So, you know, elbows, knees, kicks, and 4-ounce gloves and Muay Thai with literally Rodtang is arguably probably top 3 hottest strikers in the world, if not the hottest striker in the world right now. It depends on who you ask, but he's definitely up there.
Chatri, I love when you're talking about the fighters because you know so much. You were in martial arts yourself and you know the sport. And it's just to see the passion that you have to talk about the fighting, the fights, the excitement. Just how much of a passion is this for you? I know it's a business and it's a big business and you've made it a very successful one. But how do you talk about the passion that you have for it?
Well, I'm the only CEO of the 3 major global organizations, UFC, One Championship, and Bellator, that is a lifelong martial artist, still train every day to this day. I've been doing Muay Thai for 35 years, Jiu-Jitsu for about 10 years. I train literally Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai every day. It's just part of who I am. Martial arts is what I love, and martial arts is who I am. And there's nothing that our fighters have not gone through that I have not personally actually experienced. So I think, you know, it gives me an edge as a CEO, but it also gives me a lot of empathy and compassion for our athletes, what they go through day in and day out, you know, in training, but also, you know, when they compete.
And Chatri, do you have a team that puts the fights together and you're going over with them what matchups you want to put together, especially for the series, one on TNT that's coming up in April on Wednesday nights?
Yeah, so Matt Hume and his team do up the vast majority of the cards. Obviously, the big fights they will run by me, but I pretty much, you know, I'd say Matt Hume and his team do about 95% of the matchmaking, athlete recruitment. I will focus on the 5%, meaning the biggest athletes, the most expensive athletes, the biggest stars, the biggest fights. Then I will get involved, but typically, you know, Matt Hume runs the show.
And April 7th with Mighty Mouse Johnson against Adriano Moraes. Do you feel like whoever wins that fight, it's a win-win for One Championship MMA either way?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think it's going to be a win-win for the fans. You know, they're going to see the very, very best GOAT DJ go for the world title, which is an exciting story in and of itself. Again, American fans are not aware of how competitive, how stacked the divisions are at One Championship. I mean, the vast majority of the you know, foreign fighters from the UFC or the other organization that have come to One Championship have not done well at all in the organization. And so I think the American fans are in for a big treat. I genuinely think that Adriano Moraes and DJ is going to be an absolute war. And you know, it's really, really, it's a tough one. And I know DJ is a phenomenal athlete. You know, I love both Adriano and DJ. But I'm telling you, man, styles make fights, and Adriano has the style to take out DJ. He definitely does. Whether he does or not is a different story, but he definitely has the style. And I think DJ is fully aware of this. He's not taking this for granted, and we're gonna see the very, very best of DJ.
One on TNT. When they were putting this together, you and your team, how long of a process was it to get this all I's dotted, T's crossed? And were you looking at other networks as well, or was the focus just on TNT?
No, we signed this deal a couple of years ago, and we were supposed to get underway on TNT. The whole plan was, not just BR Live, right? BR Live was just the initial push, but while our teams were getting together. But then obviously COVID threw a big monkey in the wrench. But otherwise this would have been sooner. But it is what it is, and we're glad to be, now, in the same way NBA is on TNT or AEW. Now you have one on TNT. This is the first season, and you'll see a lot more of One Championship in the States, live, prime time, in the US.
Chatri, then, are there plans after April to do more with TNT? Has that contract been signed to do that?
Well, we're up for renewal, so definitely, obviously, Turner Sports, it has been an incredible partner for us. We've had good, bad, and ugly times with them, just again with COVID and everything. But we'll see. I mean, because the contract's up for renewal. Other U.S. broadcasters, are interested or have expressed interest. So we'll see what happens.
And will there be ways to watch the fights on VOD, video on demand, or on One Championship MMA YouTube after they're out there, or even on TNT on their social media?
Yeah.
Is there something in process for that?
Yeah, definitely. We like giving fans surprises, and we like giving fans as much content as possible. And so you will see re-airs of it, whether it's on our YouTube channel or Facebook page. We typically will show full fights or full events. In fact, obviously subject to our broadcast partners. So typically we will air the first one live on all our broadcasters, and then after that, One Champion will take over and do re-airs. Definitely.
And Chatri, what were the plans to do these shows in the US, but because of COVID, or that was not really the official plan?
No, it was. No. If it weren't for COVID, we would already have had our first events in the US. Again, like I said, Turner's an incredible partner. We're super excited to be working so closely with TNT. And again, both sides believe this is the beginning of something very significant. And US fans are in for a big treat.
Well, Chatri, do you have a time frame? And I know it's tough, obviously, because of COVID. Everybody's going through the pandemic. But is there a time frame later in 2021, maybe 2022, to do shows in the US?
Yes, that's always been part of the plan, and that will be part of the plan again. But again, COVID right now makes it very, very tricky, right? Even in Asia, every single country, the borders are still closed. There's still 2-week quarantine between countries, if you're even allowed to travel into that country. So it's still very, very difficult times. We've been very fortunate that the Singapore government and One Champion have worked very closely together as partners in bringing back live global events, both for live events, for sporting events, but also even global production of The Apprentice. The Singapore government has been a very integral partner to ensuring that the show goes on with One Championship.
Well, it's interesting. How has it been running the shows, and are you allowed to have fans at your shows?
We're allowed to have 250 fans only in attendance. So obviously, again, the atmosphere is different. We're doing our best to upgrade our product for broadcast so that the energy does come into the living room. And one thing that American fans are going to see that's very, very different is our production value relative to UFC or Bellator. Our production value is off the charts. You can ask any, legendary martial arts figure who's come to the actual events, whether it's Eddie Bravo or Renzo Gracie. A lot of these superstars have come and actually watched the event. Vitor Belfort, they will tell you that One Champion has, bar none, head and shoulders above both UFC and Bellator in terms of production value. And so again, the US fans are in for a real treat. Even the Japanese fans have said that our production value is better than that of Pride at its heyday. So that says a lot about the nostalgia effect. So again, I think hardcore MMA fans in the US are in for a big, big treat. Some really great fights. But again, we're bringing our own unique brand of martial arts, something the US has never seen before. And we're excited to introduce ourselves on TNT.
And one on TNT will be every Wednesday in April, starting April 7th. And You mentioned some of the fighters, and not only men, but you have some outstanding women on One Championship MMA as well. If you can't, Chatri, and I know there are many fighters, but if there are some other men and women that you could just mention some of their names, you don't have to go into a whole big thing, but just about them, and we could get those names out there too.
Sure. I mean, we have the best atomweight division on the planet for the female division, just real absolute monsters. The World Grand Prix starts off on May 28th. And the winner of the World Grand Prix then faces the current atomweight world champion, Angela Lee. Angela Lee is genuinely one of the pound for pound greatest female athletes on the planet, full stop. She was only 19 years old when she won the world title, the youngest world champion in the history of mixed martial arts globally. Just an incredible athlete, incredible skills. Her brother is the current lightweight world champion. So this is a family of world champions. Christian Lee. Yes, it's crazy. So he's coming on.
I don't want to mess with that family.
Yeah, exactly. And then the young Victoria, 16-year-old phenom, has just signed with One Champ, just had her debut as well. Now she's incredible. I mean, she's a straight A 4.0 student in high school, and she's a professional mixed martial artist. It's just the Lee family. Ken and Jules are dear, close friends of mine, raised incredible kids as human beings, but also, literally some of the world's greatest martial artists are in the Lee family. So it's pretty crazy. But again, there's so many. There's Janet Todd, who's the kickboxing world champion. Super technical. She'll also be showcasing her skills. She's half Japanese, half American, and really just a dynamite cracker. I mean, just beautiful technique, unbelievable Muay Thai skills, unbelievable kickboxing skills. She's going to be showcasing her skills as well. Just so many incredible athletes coming up on these One on TNT shows.
Well, Chatri, especially these days, and I know a big thing with One Championship MMA is respect, and also creating superheroes, positive role models. And I think in these times, especially creating new Asian heroes, which is very important these days with everything that's been going on lately. How important and how much does that hit you?
Well, of course, it is important. We are Asia's largest global sports media property. Asia is a continent of 4.5 billion people, but our hashtags, we are one, because I want to use our values, our heroes, and our stories to unite humanity. This is not about, East versus West per se. This is not about this country or that country being better, or this region or that region being better. We have world champions from Asia. We have world champions from Europe. We have world champions from North America. We have world champions from Latin America. Truly, the world is one. That being said, of course, I do want to help out the Asian Americans who are total innocent victims right now of racial attacks and even deaths. And so, One Championship will be making a push on social media to help raise awareness for this whole Stop Asian Hate movement that's happening in the US. But at the same time, One Championship is not about raising the flag of Asia. It's much more about showcasing the beauty of Asia, but embracing all of humanity together. So, we have, again, world champions from every continent. We have world champions from every race and religion, and we're proud of that. We celebrate the very best of humanity, and that's what One Champion Spirit's about.
The best of humanity, multicultural, everybody coming together. It's a very key and very important, which is awesome with One Championship MMA. And I want to touch base a little bit. I won't take up too much more of your time, but I want to touch base a little bit of South Florida. Chatri, American Top Team, Sanford MMA, Masters Miami is another one. We've got so many outstanding training facilities just in South Florida. What are your thoughts of South Florida as an MMA training facility hotbed?
Florida has some of the best martial arts on the planet, bar none. Obviously, some of the best teams as well. Sanford MMA arguably is one of the greatest teams on the planet, as is America Top Team. So, it's just, it's always been a hotbed. And I think it's because beautiful weather, great beaches, good lifestyle, I think attracts, but also at the same time, there is a very strong Latin community in Florida. that has a lot of the hot Latin blood in terms of competitive fire. So, all that mixed together, I think, has become a breeding ground for some of the world's greatest fighters.
Chatri, have you ever been to Florida and/or South Florida?
Yes, of course. I used to live in the States, so I lived in the States for about around, I think, 18 years, around there. So, yeah, I've been all over the States.
And
I wanted to ask too, with one on TNT, will be following All Elite Wrestling Dynamite. And this is a newer pro wrestling organization. And it's interesting because we have, Chatri, seen some crossover between pro wrestling and MMA. Yes, they are two different. One is about protecting the opponent. The other is about beating up the opponent. But you still need the athleticism. And there is that crossover. And we've seen a Ronda Rousey, a Brock Lesnar, a Bobby Lashley, Kurt Angle from amateur wrestling to pro wrestling. But that crossover, what are your thoughts of that? Asia with pro wrestling has always been a big deal. I know, Chatri, I've never been, but I know in Japan, they cover pro wrestling like it's a actual sport. But what are your thoughts about that lead-in and the fans? Because they're excited for both, it seems.
Well, I mean, I think that's the big bet that TNT is making, right? There are a bunch of smart leaders there who really believe that a combination of AEW and ONE together are going to give fans something to really, get excited for on Wednesday nights. And so I think it's a great idea and a great introduction into the States, right? I mean, AEW is clearly a very hot property. It's a young property, but it's very hot. And ONE Champion is very young, and we're also very hot. So again, combining the two properties together and doing some cross promotion does make a lot of sense. Again, the fan base are quite similar. There is overlap. But again, for me, I'm much more excited about, the fact that, we're going to be on basically free-to-air TV, although I know TNT's on cable, but it's effectively in every household, right? 90 million households across America. So 330 million people in the States have the potential, if they wanted to, watch this for free. DJ, going for his first world title shot in ONE Championship, big storyline there. You have Eddie Alvarez trying to crack the top 5 in ONE Championship. Of course, he's a former UFC, former Bellator world champion. His goal is to be the only man to conquer all 3 world titles of the major global organizations. That's what's the fire that drives him right now. Can he do it? He's going to be facing number 2 Yuri Lapicus. So it's going to be a very, very exciting matchup. Can he break into the top 5? That's going to be a big question mark for Eddie. And of course, introduction of Muay Thai in 4-ounce gloves. Rotang is just an absolute wrecking machine. Again, one of the hottest strikers genuinely on the planet right now. And again, some people would say the top 3. Some people would say he's the one right now. In Thailand, definitely he is the one in terms of, I guess, the hottest striker there is, because he's just a wrecking ball. He comes in, marches forward, and he throws bombs, kicks, knees, and elbows, and punches. I mean, he hits like Mike Tyson. So, and he's got a chin like just incredible. So, U.S. fans are in for a real treat on TNT. But remember, we're also going to be broadcasting live the prelims on Bleacher Report. So again, you're going to see a lot of different action. You're going to see some Muay Thai. You're going to see some kickboxing, some mixed martial arts. And we're trying to work on a super fight in grappling also for TNT4. But let's see if that comes to fruition. Again, ONE Championship is the home of martial arts. We don't want to just showcase mixed martial arts. Yes, we do mixed martial arts, but we do all the different martial arts out here in Asia.
And it's very interesting that you're going to have that kind of combination. It's worked there. And I think fans are going to be exciting here to see that. And I want to end one more with AEW, because I just think that's such an interesting dynamic too, whether you're a pro wrestling fan or not, because they also try to create superheroes. That's always been the thing, good versus bad, so to speak, in their world. And to me, you mentioned about crossover, or at least promotional wise. Chatri, would you be okay if someone from ONE Championship wanted to try AEW or just do a match or something like that? Or if anyone in AEW, if they were athletic, to do something with ONE Championship?
Definitely. I mean, this is something that would be very fun and entertaining for the fans. You know, if we could get one of AEW's top wrestlers to come actually compete in MMA in one championship, or vice versa, having one of our athletes, you know, in a wrestling match, hopefully for the title, something dramatic, I think makes for a great storyline. And again, what does one championship bring? We bring Asia to America in the sense of viewership and the martial arts code, if you will, the Bushido code. AEW obviously brings a lot of entertainment value, American style. So there's a lot of crossover opportunities. I think a lot of storytelling there. Yeah, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, Chatri, I want to thank you so much for the time and just bringing this to North America, all over to the East. It'll be very interesting, or to the West, I should say, very interesting. And whatever you want to close with, please do. I know we mentioned a lot about in April. If you want to talk a little bit about that again, whatever you want to close with. Oh, I didn't even mention this. You're doing The Apprentice. Chatri's doing your own version of The Apprentice. So Chatri, I have to ask, I don't care what political view the person has. That's not what I mean. But we've seen somebody in another apprentice become president. Is politics something Chatri might be interested in?
No. I love martial arts. Martial arts is who I am. I have zero interest in politics. You know, this special edition, MGM and One Champion decided to do together. We co-own this version, this edition of The Apprentice. It's called The Apprentice One Championship Edition, where we're injecting our world champions, our IPR brand into the show, but we're also bringing in CEOs, my CEO buddies from around the world. So you'll see CEOs like Eric Yuan from Zoom featuring in an episode. You'll see like Anthony Tan from Grab. You'll see him like Jeff Lawson from Twilio. You know, these are all top-notch, world-class CEOs who have built multi-billion-dollar companies, and they'll be joining the show as co-judges in each of the episodes. So a lot of fun for everybody. Our world champions are all going to make an appearance as well in the show. So it's a whole different beast. This is not The Apprentice of old. This is not your grandfather's apprentice. This is revamped, completely brand new, millennial, hot, cool, and it's got all the sizzle.
And we get to see Chatri in a cool looking suit too, dressed well.
That's right. I do wear a suit, you know. I normally don't wear suits unless it's, you know, event night. Other than that, I'm pretty a t-shirt and jeans kind of guy. But, you know, in The Apprentice, I do have to wear a suit. So.
Well, Chatri, again, one on TNT every Wednesday throughout April after AEW Dynamite. Tremendous cards, tremendous fights. It'll be very exciting to see this. And you did mention Bleacher Report Live also showing the prelims, which I believe starts at 9 p.m. Eastern time. If there's anything else you'd like to say about One TNT, please do. And we will end it with that. Thank you so much, Chatri.
I'm telling you, if you're a hardcore MMA fan, you got to watch April 7th at 10 p.m. live on TNT. If you're a hardcore sports fan, you got to watch live 10 p.m. April 7th on TNT. And if you just love action and you love martial arts and you love Asian culture, you got to be there watching live, prime time, 10 p.m., April 7th, world title fights, incredible athletes, the best of the best.
Thank you, Chatri.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jim.
Jim, Chatri, thank you guys so much for making this happen. Chatri, looking forward to the 7th, and Jim, we're sending some stuff over to you. So thank you for making time.
Thank you all so much, Chatri. I'm hoping all the best.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you. Take care.
Hey, Jim, and I'll follow
Okay,
up.
bye, everybody. Thanks, Brandon.
And I'll follow up with the video for this now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you in a few.
Okay, bye.